A great question we get a lot is, what if I start homeschooling and then I realize my kid has a learning disorder or ADHD? Like, are there resources? Who do I call? There's no superintendent of homeschooling. And yeah, I think that's a really valid concern. That's a really valid concern. When you're homeschooling, you are committing to be hey, don't be crazy. You're committing to be a student of your child, and so part of learning how to educate them is learning how they think and how they act and what motivates them and how they learn. You're a goofball. And so one example, my husband was homeschooled and realized, his mom realized when he was about 7 years old that he couldn't spell if he was sitting down at a desk and writing by himself, but if he was in a rocking chair and moving back and forth, he was a perfect speller. And she also found that when he was sitting down at a desk writing, doing his math, it was really hard for him to concentrate and get it done. But if she gave him a whiteboard and had him do his math on a whiteboard, it was a lot easier because it was, I don't know, something about it being different visually, and you could use different colored pens. That really made a big difference for him. And so I think you have to figure out what works for your kid, and you have all the freedom to do it. Like when we're learning math in our house, we will do jumping jacks while we do our skip counting, because it's a lot more fun to move around and sing songs than it is to sit quietly and memorize your times tables. We'll also do a lot of dancing and jumping around and right. And so I think a lot of the problems that you have in traditional school of trying to get kids to sit down and focus for 8 hours a day aren't as big of a problem when you're homeschooling, because you can shape their environments a little bit more to what they need. Lots of times when we're doing history, if it's a nice day, we'll just go outside and sit in the grass, and I'll let the kids pick flowers around a blanket while I read to them. That sounds really idyllic. We pick flowers while we do our history, but yeah, it's just you don't have the problem of trying to get a little kid to sit down and focus with a pencil in his hand for 8 hours and then do homework at home, because you don't have to. Your kid can learn different ways. I also have good friends whose their 8-year-old was having trouble reading, and so they hired a reading coach who specializes in dyslexia. And once a week they FaceTime with her for a half hour, and she's been a huge help to that. They use one of those camera, a document camera, so she can see what their son's doing. And he's reading great now. They were able to specialize that attention. I think the real question is is there going to be help for me if I have trouble? And yeah, there's help. There's so much help. And what you're doing is you're finding specific answers to what your child needs and what your family needs, and you're able to shape their education around them, and you don't have to fit your child into a certain educational mold. So that, you can't have 30 kids in a classroom doing jumping jacks every time they're learning math. That would just be total chaos. But when you have 3 kids doing that, that's a fun day. Yeah, so there are lots of resources. There is a huge community of people who have problem solved every answer, and there are lots of experts who can help with that too. So don't be too scared about it.